Hi, I'm Phyllis, southernfrugal.com. Today we're going to fix a meal entirely in the oven. And well, we've got to brown the pork, but it's going to be pork with a tarragon sauce, and we're going to make some potatoes, green beans, and even some baked apples. So the first thing we need to do is get the pork out of the refrigerator. So hold on a minute. I'm going to go ahead and turn my skillet on because we're going to brown the pork a little bit. So earlier I cut the pork up. These were some really large pork chops, and I wanted to cut the bone off and everything. So I cut that off, and I've cooked that separate actually for the dogs. And anyway, we're going to, what we did is floured these, dredged them in flour, and then put them in the refrigerator. They've been in the refrigerator for a good hour, maybe longer. And that helps the flour to stick to them. All right, so we've got our skillet on, waiting for that to get hot. And once I start browning these, I will go ahead, and I've got some spring onions to cut up, some apples to core over here, and I'm going to quarter the potatoes, and I've got some frozen green beans that I'm going to put also in one of the little casserole dishes. So, all right, I'm going to bring y'all back once this gets hot. It's going to take a few minutes, and I've got to cut my oven on. I'm going to preheat it to 350 degrees. Be right back. All right, my skillet is good and hot now. I'm going to go ahead and put a little oil in it. And we're ready to start loading up these little pork. They're not like pork medallions. They're really pieces of large pork chops. They're probably less than a half an inch thick. I'm hoping I can get them all in the skillet at one time. That would be good. Yeah, there's a lot of pork here. I think this was actually one of those Boston butts that they cut up, because it didn't really look too much like pork chops to me, except the two that were on the top. They look like pork chops. See if I can cram these all in here would be really good. Alright, so I'm not going to be able to get them all in until some of them shrink up a little bit. Alright, we're going to brown these on both sides on not super high heat, but it's, maybe 3/4 of the way on the burner, because I want them to brown. I'm not going to really want them all the way cooked. And once that gets done, and I'm going to need to go ahead while these are browning, get all this stuff ready, and we'll be back. Alright, we got all our pork somewhat browned, and I've got it in this little casserole dish, and that's the one we're going to put in the oven. So I've got my burner turned down a little bit, and we're going to add a couple of tablespoons of butter. And we've got all of our little brown bits are still in the skillet, and we're going to add 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour to that. Let that cook just a little bit. Once this cooks just a little bit, we're going to add some milk to it. Now this is a 2-cup measure, and I've got 2/3 of a cup of non-fat instant milk. And to that 2/3 of a cup, I'm going to fill that up to the 2-cup mark. Right there. Then we're just going to mix that up. Alright, so while our flour is cooking just a little bit, we're going to add the spring onions. Now I used 5 spring onions and just chopped them up like that. So I'm just going to dump those in. And we're going to go ahead and add a little salt. Not much though. That's maybe half a teaspoon, and I did not salt the pork because it'll soak up some of the salt once it's in the oven from our little mixture here. And of course those little brown bits are going to come up from the bottom as soon as I add some liquid to this. Okay, so now we're going to add 3 teaspoons of tarragon leaves. Yeah, 3 teaspoons right in there. Just stir that around a little bit. Now, we're not really trying to completely cook these onions, because they're going to go in the oven with the pork. Alright, so hopefully we got the milk all mixed up now. I'm going to go ahead and add that to the skillet. Some of it didn't dissolve, so I'm not putting that in. We want to stir this around and just bring it to a boil. Alright, while we're waiting on that to come to a boil, I quartered my potatoes and I'm going to put some dried parsley flakes on there. Let me turn that down so you can see. So I'm just going to use some dried parsley flakes. Like that. And I'm going to use a touch of oregano. Now what oregano does to potatoes is it brings out the taste of them. You will not be able to tell there's oregano in there, but it brings out their taste a little bit. Alright, so that should be good. Let's stir this. This is like a white gravy almost. But when those little bits come up off of the bottom, it'll turn a little more brown. So we just want to get it up and boiling. Now the reason I use the non-fat dried milk is because I don't want it to curdle and separate, because I'm going to add the juice of half a lemon here as soon as it starts boiling. Alright, let's get back to the potatoes. So I want to put some water in those, maybe half a cup, and we're going to put some butter in there. Of course this butter is going to fall to the bottom, so that's what, about 3 good pats or maybe more. Let's just make it 4 pats of butter on there, and of course the butter will melt and go to the bottom is what it will do. But anyway, we're going to cook this in the oven along with the pork. Stir this gravy again a little bit. Alright, so while I cored the apples, and I put about a teaspoon of sugar and cinnamon in the middle of the apple, had it turned sideways, and then just kind of roll the apple around to coat the inside. So to this, I'm going to also add half a cup of water. So the potatoes and the apples are going to get some aluminum foil over the top of them. Then I'm going to put a little knife in and make a little hole for the steam to come out. Alright, and the other thing is, while we're waiting, it already smells really, really good. Really good. I love tarragon a lot. So we're going to let this go ahead and come up to a boil. Now I'm going to also have some green beans, and let me get those out of the freezer. Hold on. Alright, so you see there's some gone from this pack, and the reason there is because, once again, this is the Pick Sweet brand, and you have to pick out the bad ones. So there are frozen regular string beans or green beans. So what I'm going to do is dump some into my little casserole, about like that. And again, I already dumped the complete bag out, put them on one of the cookie sheets, and had to pick the bad ones out. All right, so to this we're going to add just a little bit of salt. And let me see if I can set that right there. This is roasted ground almonds. The first thing I want to do is add about a half a cup of water to the beans. So I'm just going to add that water, and of course the beans are still frozen. Now you can use sliced almonds or whatever you call those kind. I like the almonds roasted much better. And I did the grinding of these, well, first of all, they had been already roasted, and I ground them in the small beaker of the Vitamix. Yeah, I like a lot. And there'll be a couple of whole almonds in there, which is a good thing. Anyway, so we're going to cover all of this, the potatoes, the beans, and the apples, which are sitting right over there, all of those with aluminum foil, and we'll be right back. All right, we got the other little casserole dishes all wrapped and covered with aluminum foil. And of course this is boiling now, so what I'm going to do is add the juice of 1/2 of a lemon. Just squeeze it in there. And this is a small lemon too. See if I can do it like this. It's got seeds in it, so there we go. So I would say that's probably no more than about 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. Stir that around. Now, because the pork has got flour on it where I browned it, I'm going to actually go ahead and add another whole cup of water. We'll let that come back to a boil again, and then we're going to pour it over the pork and put it right in the oven along with everything else. So we'll be back. All right, my little sauce has come to a full rolling boil. Actually, it's a gravy, okay? It's a milk gravy. Anyway, we're going to dump this on the pork right now. And again, this is going to really thicken up a lot more because of the breading on the pork chops, or pork pieces, we'll say. So we're just going to lift that around a little bit and make sure that the pork chops, none of them are sticking together, or the pork pieces, we'll say. All right, and again, this is going to thicken up. Now, if you choose to do this and decide not to bread your pork and just brown it the way it is, you don't need that extra cup of water. All right, guys, so we're going to cover this up now. Cover it up, not really super tight. A couple of holes in it for the steam to come out. And those over there are going to get a couple of holes in the top of them, and they're all going to go in the oven for 1 hour at 350 degrees. We'll be back in about an hour. I'm going to go read comments. See you in a little while. All right, I have just taken all of this out of the oven after 1 hour. So I'm going to let y'all see it while I take off the little aluminum covers on it. All right, let's do the potatoes. They look great. The apples all collapsed, but that's fine. There are the green beans. They look great too. Let me give you a close-up. I love green beans like that. Just like that. And the apples just collapsed. Those are, I think these are Honey Crisp as I recall, but they'll still be good, just like that. All right, and here's the pork. Doesn't that look good? Yeah, let me move y'all closer. There. All right, I gotta fix the tea. I'm waiting for the bread to heat up, and we'll be back and show you what it looks like on the plate. We'll be back. All right, we've got everything on the plates and we're ready to eat. The only thing I did is add a pat of butter to the inside of the apple, and the other thing I did was put some salt on the potatoes. And of course we've got our bread back there. So there it is. Let me move y'all closer. You can see. Yeah, and I love the beans. Now, by the way, putting the beans in frozen makes them be cooked exactly right once the rest of the meal is ready. And I think these must be Honey Crisp apples because they sure did come apart, but they all are very, very good. All right, y'all, we will see y'all next time. I hope you'll try this. Now, of course, the tarragon is usually the spice that's in béarnaise sauce, so some of y'all might not ever use that, but I think it's really, really good. All right, we will see y'all next time. Bye for now.